So, I just got through with the very first episode of a Mabu Saka 100, and I will now be presenting my review for the first episode. If you've seen one of my other two first episode reviews, the reason why I've started doing these is because I don't feel like doing first impressions yet. You kind of got to start talking about shows right away as they come out, and on top of that, it's weird to say first impressions when it's only just one episode. So instead, it's my episode review. Now, anyways, let's get onto it. Now, the story of Mob Psycho 100 is absolutely ridiculous. It's like Ghostbusters 2.0, you know? In fact, I feel like this is actually going to be compared to Ghostbusters a few times. It's even got its very own Slimer here, which is interesting. At least it looks like Slimer. That thing pops up in the opening song like 2 times, which also, first off the bat, one thing I gotta give to the opening song, it's very energetic. The music isn't very memorable, but the opening song has so many crazy visuals going on for it. I think I picked up a few hints of the future plotline, just a few hints, so if it did spoil a lot of the show, it was kind of hard to notice those spoilers just due to how much crazy shit is going on the screen when you're looking at the opening. Like, most people will look at the opening song and what's going on during the opening song, and they'll just be like, what the fuck is going on? On top of that, our main character, Kageyama Shigeo, also known as Mob, the title of the show, character title of the show. He is apparently what Saitama was. He is just another fucking crazy ass. Like, personality-wise, they don't actually have very much in common. He's very, very Addams Family-ish. He has very little personality to him. He's very dark looking. But he's got, like, the same design as Saitama from One Punch Man. And like Saitama from One Punch Man, he's just this crazy-ass, powerful motherfucker that you just don't really want to fuck with. So, it's just one of those things where you're kind of just like, whoa, damn, GG, watch out. There's even a time where a spirit is speaking of an eviler spirit that is down the tunnel. This evil spirit, he's made out to be super powerful. He's scaring one of our characters, a character by the name of, his name actually escapes me at the time, but I think it's Reagan or whatever. He's not like Ronald Reagan, but Reagan. Anyways, he's basically Mob's master. He's an exorcist as well, and apparently a very famous one. He's kind of like the Hercule of the show. Like, he's not a powerful exorcist at all. He knows nothing. He's always saying to Mob, like, you take care of the small fries, blah, blah, blah. This is why I'm teaching you. If I used my powers, I would melt all the humans around me. That's why you need to take care of the situation. Just stupid shit like that, where you're just like, yeah, you're fucking full of yourself. Get the fuck out of here. But his character is pretty funny. The show is also pretty funny in general. It has a lot of humor. That being said, it's very action-y. This is Studio Bones, of course, and they did a very fine job. The colors are very weird. I like what they did for the spirits. Like, some of the spirits, like the color schemes used on them, the color palettes, they have this sort of a lot of them have this very sketched out look to them, where they look kind of like drawn with a colored pencil. And I don't know, I just kind of like that being portrayed on screen. So the monsters look really nice. The fights look really nice. A lot of times sometimes it feels like they lack detail in favor of fluidity, which if it's moving fast enough, I don't mind that. It's kind of like utilizing CG, but it's going fast. For example, like when in Attack on Titan, when members of the Survey Corps or the Training Corps are, running across the buildings or flying through the city, and you have the city going by at such a fast rate, but if you stopped it and slowed it down, or you stopped it and paused it to look at it, it's actually, the buildings are CGI and it looks fucking ugly. But even though that's the case, when it's actually moving and you're seeing it how it's meant to be seen, it ends up looking really good. And I think in that regard, they did a really good job with the animation here and making the fights look really fluid, fast, and fun, and colorful. So Moving on, as awesome as I feel like this already is, and it kind of shares, especially Mob, shares a lot with Saitama in terms of just being this crazy, fun destroyer of the enemy, just this ultimate superpower that just can't be stopped. The anime is very simple in its approach to storytelling. This was kind of the same way it was with One. One Punch Man was super popular, and I feel like what One did a good job of was really amplifying the stereotypes that tend to make anime popular. It seems like this is going under the same sort of design that One Punch Man did, which the funny thing about One Punch Man is the show is making, kind of in a small way, making fun of, the super popular action-filled shonen shows that have crazy shonen power-ups and super hyped action. And, these shows are sort of making light and making fun of that, while at the same time doing that very thing. The funny thing is, these shows will probably be popular for the very reason, for the very genre they're making fun of. They're going to be popular because they're like the shows that they're making fun of, which is kind of like an ironic, weird way of looking at it, and it's a weird sense to the enjoyment of these shows, how they can be enjoyed as two different things. Like, if you don't like this genre, you can enjoy it because it kind of, satirically makes fun of it in a way. But if you do like this genre, well, then it shares a lot of similarities, and that's another reason why you're going to enjoy these shows, Mob Psycho 100 from the first episode, and of course One Punch Man in general. So it's very funny that it's taking that route. But as a plot, for the plot as a whole, it has a very simple way of displaying itself. Our main character, Kageyama, for example, he's just a normal student. In fact, he doesn't really have much going for him. He just thinks he's normal. He doesn't really even understand how powerful he is. It's not like One Punch Man where it's like he knows just got to get that punch in. No, he's like, he doesn't realize that he is this all fucking mighty super being that can destroy almost anything in a matter of seconds, when his master is this bumbling idiot. His master understands. His master's not even a fucking psychic, because that's what these superpowered beings are. They're psychics, and that's what Mob is. And apparently the world is filled with these psychics, and they also fight the ghosts, which the world is also full of ghosts. Very standard approach. We've seen it done plenty times before, and on top of that, I can already see where where this anime is going. I almost kind of already see it, because it doesn't really leave itself to have anything completely new or interesting happening. Even in a lot of ways, its own most interesting assets are just borrowed over from One Punch Man, which this is the same creator, so you can't really say that he's ripping it off. I'm just saying that's definitely going to hurt the enjoyment of this. You're not going to feel the same sense of magic that you felt when watching One Punch Man. On top of that, some of the big speculations I already have. I haven't read any of it, but just based off this first episode, you can already tell this Reigen guy, his master, the guy who doesn't really have powers, he pretends to be this all-masterful, badass psychic, this all-masterful, badass exorcist, and he always keeps saying to him, oh, you take care of the small fries. The funny thing is, I can't really tell. There's two ways I see his plot going. Eventually, he's going to have to handle this situation on his own, or he's going to be thrown into a situation maybe that Mob can't handle, and he's going to have to learn the hard way that his master, Reigen, doesn't have any powers. He's useless. He is this weakling. He doesn't have powers. He's been lying to him. He's been taking the profits from the exorcisms that this middle schooler has been doing, giving him just a little bit of change here. There's here's your change. Here's your change for the exorcism. Here's your change. It's like he's carrying around this middle schooler to take care of all this work so that he can make a profit. And I feel like eventually he's going to have to own up to this. Own up to being a fake, because he's going to find himself in a situation where he has to take care of a monster without Mob, or he'll be asked to take care of a monster by Mob that Mob can't take care of, and he won't be able to do it, and he'll finally have to admit that he's a fraud. That's one way that I see this anime going. Or he'll have to protect somebody else while not using powers and try to maintain the illusion. And then the other big way that this could go, since this is something in the vein of One Punch Man, maybe he's going to keep up this illusion forever. Maybe he's going to keep it up for the entire anime, because it's very possible. Because if Mob is as powerful as I'm thinking he's going to be, Kageyama Shigeo, or Mob, then he's going to be able to destroy anything without a problem. So Reagan can just keep saying, oh yeah, you take care of the small fry. Well, this is a small fry. This is a small fry. And if he destroys them as easily as he does every single time, like it's no big deal, like he's knocking them out practically in one punch, well, then you're going to get this sense where it's just like, so they're just going to keep going with this, which inherently that's actually kind of hilarious and adds to the comedy of this show, where the show does have a lot of comedy, like exaggerated character features. They do that often, or just crazy stupid stuff like butt chins, just funny stuff. It's going to feed into the comedy aspect, but at the same time, it's going to get repetitious, and you're going to be like, okay, when is this character going to develop? Is he ever going to admit to being a fraud? The next big character thing I want to talk about, the next big thing in regards to plot where I can already see this going, is with this girl. Her name escapes me at the moment, but let's get into it real quick. So this girl, I don't remember her name, but basically Kageyama Shigeo, or Mob has a big crush on her. Her name's Tsubomi, I believe. Anyways, Mob has a really big crush on her. Even her very first appearance, the other girls around her are appearing as vegetable faces. I think one girl was a potato. Another girl was a bell pepper. I forget what the last one was, but they're like vegetables. And it's just like, what the fuck? Just another splash of this show's humor. But she's sparkling. She's got like this pink aura around her. Like, oh, she's the cute girl. You can tell Mob has a huge crush on her. This attributes to his character of him just pretty much being a normal middle schooler. He looks up to his brother and such, things like that. But this is a girl that he likes. Obviously, if this show uses its premise and uses the most interesting plot tropes that it could, this being one of them, it's going to add development to this romance by having a scene where Mob eventually has to defend this girl. It's just one of the many plot points in my head that I can think of where this is obviously where the show is going to go, and that's a problem with the show. As fun as it appears to be, it seems very predictable. The interesting thing about when I was watching the first episode of Berserk and the first episode of Orange, which I had also done reviews on, those episodes were for something felt like what was completely new territory to me. You know, the plot line of Orange, as it seems, is a very interesting one, and I have yet to see it done, and especially in the sense of a shoujo romantic series. It was very well done, very well executed, very interesting, and I actually was curious as to what was going to happen and what would be happening, especially with some of the bombs that episode had dropped. Berserk, we're getting a sequel to a long-awaited to a highly acclaimed series, and it's a long-awaited sequel. We've been waiting for an animated sequel to Berserk for a long time. Yes, it skips source material. Yes, that sucks, but I'm braving new territory with the character Guts that I have yet to actually experience, and it's interesting to see where Guts' character is going to go. But for this, it's just a new series that's starting out with a very basic premise that borrows a lot from One Punch Man, and we essentially know where the series is going to go, is all I feel, at least. We kind of already understand what's going to be enjoyable about the show, but in a lot of ways that's going to detract from it. Anyways, finishing up here, this episode review has gone on way longer than I had intended it to go on, but anyways, might as well just give my final thoughts. Like I said, this show is going to be very enjoyable, much like One Punch Man. It's not going to be as enjoyable as One Punch Man because I feel like it borrows too heavily. And unlike One Punch Man, that actually had a somewhat interesting premise on its own, where he could just punch something every time he hits something in one punch, it's destroyed in one punch. Like, the one punch is all it takes to defeat something. That's a weird, interesting premise that adds to the humor, adds to how interesting it is when you see, you know, how the author tries to work around that premise. This, on the other hand, doesn't really have that. He's just a powerful-ass psychic. He shares a lot with Saitama in the sense that he's just super powerful and he has to take out these uber-powerful ghosts. So we already see where this is going as well. It's nothing particularly interesting, and that's the problem. I don't see myself being super enthralled while watching this. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to laugh at some of the ridiculous, like people with vegetable heads or exaggerated facial expressions or butt chins. It's just one of those funny things. I mean, this anime is already super popular, though. One episode in, and it's only been out for 24 hours, and it's already the 6th most popular anime on here. The 6th on Crunchyroll, at least. All I'm looking at is Crunchyroll. It's the 6th most popular. So it's crazy how popular it already is, like One Punch Man. Speaking of One Punch Man, I was hoping they'd reference it. Obviously, our main character Mob looks a lot like Saitama, but they actually have Saitama as a screensaver in Ligon's phone, and I thought that was pretty funny. It's just just little things like that, and Slimer and things like that this show's going to be fun to watch. It's going to have humor, it's going to have intense action, thanks to Studio Bones. It looks nice, but the plot is ultimately uninteresting. I feel like it's going to be one of my, not least favorite animes of the season, I feel like it's going to be one of my least favorite animes of the season, if that makes any sense. Like, it's still going to be one of my favorites from the season, but it's not going to be up there. So, anyways, that's my thoughts on Mob Psycho 100. Mob Psycho 100. Anyways, what are your guys' thoughts on the show? Have you enjoyed this first episode? Have you read any of the manga? I believe it has a manga that continues onward. I don't know if this is an original material or not. If it is, please let me know. Maybe I should have done that research on my own. Anyways, I will see you guys on the next quest for anime.